Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we talk about all things fandom on this channel, and we talk about it in a positive way. If that's something that appeals to you, you know you've come to the right place. We're so happy to have you here today. Today also happens to be Saturday on this channel, where we normally talk about things we didn't get to talk about the rest of the week. However, today we have to talk about Baldur's Gate getting a TV series. Yes, you heard right. Baldur's Gate is getting a TV series, so let's jump right into it. So, if you've ever played D&D, you've probably heard of Baldur's Gate. And there is this game, Baldur's Gate, that takes place within the D&D universe that I highly recommend you play if you can't do a tabletop game with friends. Now, I myself do prefer to play a tabletop game with friends. However, I open this question up to you right away. Do you prefer to play Baldur's Gate, or would you rather play D&D with a group of friends? Because there's not really a wrong answer here. I'm just curious as to your thoughts. I really do prefer playing with a bunch of friends. But this is exciting news because it is considered by many to be the best D&D game that takes place within the world of D&D. So what exactly is being said about this? Baldur's Gate TV series will be continuing the game's story. And this comes from Deadline and several other sources I've seen this talked about now. And it is in the works at HBO from Craig Mazin and Hasbro Entertainment. Now, Craig Mazin is the co-creator of another TV adaptation of a video game on HBO, The Last of Us. And he has done so amazing. Pretty much, The Last of Us, you could say what you want about the series, but it's an award-winning series. It really does look visually stunning. And whether you like the series The Last of Us or not, having him in charge of this particular property to give us a series is something that looks like it's going to be awesome. It just does. I could not be more excited about this because the details that they're telling us also allow for this to be very different from The Last of Us. The Last of Us kind of took place during the time of the games. You know, retold the story of the games. That's fine. That's good. That's usually how stuff is done. But with this, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. And I think that's amazing. I think that's going to be something that's, pun intended, a game changer for the series. So it says HBO is developing Baldur's Gate, a drama series based on the Wizards of the Coast video game franchise. Mazin is attached to create, write, and executive produce as well as showrun this TV adaptation. It will also be executive produced by Jacqueline Lesko and Cecil O'Connor, and Hasbro Entertainment's Gabriel Morano. Chris Perkins, the former longtime head of story at Hasbro's Wizards of the Coast, which is behind the game's universe, will serve as a consultant. Now, that's also important because having someone who is knowledgeable of that world, someone who's involved in that world and creating it and, you know, kind of that fan mentality is important. We've talked on this channel before about how important it is to have somebody who knows the series, who knows things because they're a fan of the property itself. And it looks like everybody here involved is. It says, unlike HBO's Last of Us, which retold the story from the PlayStation games, this will be a continuation, telling a story that takes place immediately after Baldur's Gate 3, as the characters, old and new, are dealing with those events that happened in the third game. Okay, that is so cool. That is cool. Because like I said, this is going to be this game changer, not being tied down by having to retell the game. Instead, they're acting like it's something new. Now, I know what some people will say. Well, how will I know what the story is if I have to have played the games? That's bogus. But the thing about D&D in general is you don't have to have played a game before. And Baldur's Gate doing this and having an event that takes place after this, with them dealing with all the things that happen in the game, that's not going to be anything to worry about. Because the way the D&D game works is that usually you have a DM that's telling you all these things. They're going to have someone to give you this knowledge. I'm sure of it. It's not going to rely on you having to play these games to watch, but it's definitely a series for fans of the game. That doesn't mean that if you've never played it, you won't enjoy it. Because the thing is, I've had several times where I've started a campaign, a tabletop one, and have somebody come in midway through. The players are all at level 16. They come in, they have no idea what's going on. You quickly sort of figure it out. And that's the thing about this world. That's the thing about the D&D world. I don't feel as though it's important for you to have played this game to watch this series. At least that's the impression I'm getting. If they thought it was going to be important that you play the game, then they would have done what they did with The Last of Us and actually told us what's going on by making a series about the game. Instead, we're getting this continuation because they have more story to tell. They have some other things. And the key word there, of course, is new characters. Because once you say you have new characters, that is really going to be the thing that makes this different from the game. Because this tells us that maybe the new characters are new threats, new allies, new people involved in everything that's going on with this game, with this series. And I like that very much. I think doing a world where you can have a pre-existing history is always good. If you look at Star Wars A New Hope, there was a whole history there. Now, people can argue that George Lucas didn't know this history. But really, in all honesty, if you look at the history of just episode 4, it started off with some stuff that would eventually sort of play out in a roundabout way. Although it was changed a lot in episode 1 that came out several years later. You see, when you have a story that has history, it adds to it. It gives you a sense of the world being real. And it sounds to me like all they're going to do is take the history of this world and they're going to tell you what to watch for. They're going to tell you who the bad guys are. They're going to tell you who your allies are. They're going to tell you everything you need to know. So this is actually so good that they're doing it this way. I prefer that my movies and television shows don't always tell me an origin story. I really like origin stories if they're done right, but you don't have to do an origin story for it to be done right. And the guy from The Last of Us being the one in charge of this, that's so cool. I am 100% sold on this series, and I can't wait to start talking about it with you guys as new information comes out. Because right now, this is what we have. This is what we know about this series. This is everything that they've told us. And that's enough to get most people who have played the game excited. And I hope it's enough to get people who haven't played that game excited. But that's where I'm going to leave it off to you guys. I want to hear from each and every one of you. Have you played the game? Do you prefer a tabletop D&D game over Baldur's Gate? Or do you actually enjoy this game better? Do you think that they needed to retell the video game in order for people to understand? Or do you think they're going to do an awesome job of having a continuation in a big world full of history and lore where it's not going to matter at all. Whatever you guys are thinking, I definitely want to hear from you. So make sure you are dropping me that comment in the comment box below. Make sure you share this video with all of your friends so they can be a part of our conversation as well. And when we have more information, I will be bringing that to you. But if you like positive content, you're going to want to hit that like button to let the algorithm know that you like positive content and want to see more of it in your feed. Let's try to change YouTube by making things more positive. So definitely hit that like button. And if you like our channel personally, yes, you're going to want to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell as well, so that you never miss a single video we do. Because friends, at the end of the day, I know it and you know it. Fandom is family.